The NBA's got a problem. The commissioner's acknowledging it, and there's no easy way out. And so my takeaway is I love the NBA, but I have been watching for the last 3 years. The league has normalized star players missing 20 games. It's not even a thing now. And I'm like, well, how do you correct it? Adam Silver said, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, it's very easy. That certain things matter to players. They do want to win scoring titles. They do want to be all-stars. They do want to be all-NBA. They do want to be MVP. Not eligible unless you play 85% of the games. Now, I was going to go to 90%. And then I thought, you got to give a guy to miss 10 or so games because he gets hurt.
Hurt, or you have back-to-backs. There's a lot of travel. It's different than other leagues.
Yes.
But I think it's a good point. I mean, if you were a quarterback in the MVP race,
and you missed 5 games.
Aaron Rodgers won MVP this year. He missed 1 game due to COVID.
Right.
If he missed 2 games, I don't think he would have won the MVP. That's just 2 games in the NFL.
Yeah,
the numbers that he would have had to put up in order to win MVP after missing 2 games would have been astronomical. That would have been all time.
That's right.
So I don't think it's outrageous.
No.
In the NFL, if you miss that amount of time, they would not vote for you for MVP. You weren't available enough.
That's right. And so, to me, it's one of those things where, I put it up. I put up first team, second team. First team's fine, except Andrew Wiggins feels not right. But Andrew's a very good player. Not going to be a Hall of Famer, but a very good player. Probably the 3rd, 4th best Warrior. But what do you do? So if you give me a problem, sometimes the solution initially is a little choppy and messy.
Well, sometimes you have to overcorrect for a problem that has snowballed so far in the other direction.
Great point. Sometimes you have to go so far and be so punitive to get everybody back to the middle.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this the other day So during the pandemic, I know you all think I'm obnoxious when I talk about the L.A., living here and blah, blah, blah. I'm not the only one that likes to live here. And they also lose people. We've lost 160,000 people in L.A. County in the last couple of years. Why? Now, we have 10 million people in L.A. County, so it's like 1%. Why? Because the housing market, it's super, super expensive. And during COVID was really hard on New York, L.A., and Chicago. It was really hard on small business. Big corporations survived it, but small businesses in New York and Chicago, Atlanta and these big cities, especially sometimes liberal cities, they had more regulations, really hard on small businesses, and it's unfortunate. But people do want to live here. They make choices all the time. And so Anthony Davis and LeBron James have a lot of power, right? But Anthony Davis admitted this yesterday. He said, I love L.A., yeah. By the way, he wanted to come to L.A. And this is what's happening. So during the pandemic, the state of California had a $75 billion surplus. Other states were going broke. Now, 40 states can't pay their bills every year. They need a federal check. Kentucky, Tennessee, smaller states, right? California has to give a check to the federal government. So does New York State. I think Illinois does as well. So we're the 5th biggest economy in the country. So the economy's good here. It is, though, in the last 2 years, it's separated from America. It's separated from New York. It's separated from Texas. It is the gap between California economy because of Zoom and Netflix and all these pandemic surging businesses has given us sort of a windfall. In fact, in California, they're talking about the governor giving everybody that owns a car $400 checks to pay for gas. That's when you got a surplus. So Anthony Davis said, I love L.A. And my takeaway is you can now use this as a bargaining chip. And I'll give you an example of what's happening. So I think of New York and Boston as great American sports cities. Line up who is the 4th biggest sports star in Boston today. Now, Jason Tatum's very big. Patrice Bergeron is very big. Nathan Eovaldi, the pitcher. Those are stars. Who's their 4? Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. Go to New York. Aaron Judge, KD, Kyrie. I'd make the argument, Jacob deGrom. New York, who's their 4th star? When I'm talking stars, I'm talking either massive marquee guys. If they walked in a mall, they would get a crowd, or they're all stars. Think about not only California separating in the economy during the pandemic. Look at what has happened in the last 4 or 5 years. Stars often choosing L.A. I'm not even going to include Clayton Kershaw, who's the best left-hander maybe since Sandy Koufax. I'm not going to count 2 or 3 Dodgers or Angels who could be all-stars. Look at the number of stars right now just in Los Angeles. In football, almost 10. Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, Odell, Joey Bosa, Justin Herbert, Khalil Mack. Baseball, Shohei Ohtani, who I watched pitch last night. Good God, does he throw hard. Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Walker Buehler, Trey Turner. Julio Urias, great. He won 20 games last year. LeBron, Anthony Davis, Paul George, a 6-time All-Star, Kawhi Leonard. We're at 20. There's another 4 to 5. I'm not even counting Mike Williams, who is I'm not even going to count. He just got $1 zillion. I'm not going to count Clayton Kershaw. I'm not counting Westbrook, who's obviously a first-ballot Hall of Famer. This is where they want to play. Bobby Wagner had choices. This is where he wanted to play. This is where Paul George, Kawhi, Anthony Davis, LeBron, this is where they want to play.
Or Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah. They chose it. Lakers have to use this as leverage. All right. You go play in New Orleans. You go play in all these. You go play in Philadelphia. See if you like that. How's the winter? We don't have one. So, I mean, I'm to the point with the Lakers is you have older players, LeBron, who love living here. You have rickety players, AD, who loves living here. Lakers facilities, Clippers facilities are nice. So my thing is, I'd start using that leverage. I'd take your franchise back. I'd use it. Because athletes now, LeBron almost doubled his net worth in 5 years moving to this city. He came here, he was worth about $400 million. He's worth about $850 million now. Like, he has doubled it. It's not because of his salary, it's because of his businesses. As entertainment and athletics converge, it's exploding what's happening. Streaming services, production companies, podcast companies, a lot of it, Silicon Valley, in the state. Use it as leverage. Sam Amick, NBA writer, senior writer for The Athletic. So I came out with my theory. Adam Silver says, I don't know what to do with players not playing. And we showed this earlier. I said, no All-Star games, no awards, no scoring titles. 85% of games on the schedule have to be played. That'll give you a 2-week injury. Otherwise, bonuses for scoring titles out, All-Star games out. Now, here's my first team based on that criteria. It's not terrible. Trae Young, DeMar DeRozan, Jason Tatum, Jokic the MVP. Now, Wiggins, you say, oh, now by the second team, it gets a little cringy for those. But again, they meet the criteria. LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, Tobias Harris, Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns. And you can go, whoa. How do you solve it? Like, how do you, to me, players have bonuses. It means a lot to be All-NBA. It means a ton to be MVP. Sam, when the commissioners, we have a major problem. I know the owners. I know one NBA owner. They are beside themselves. It is a massive problem. What does the NBA do?
Honestly, I love the philosophy behind your idea, Colin. I feel like the percentage threshold would probably have to be lower. And maybe that's negotiation, right? You got to start high and work your way from there. Because those teams you just showed me are a little crunchy. And to Joy's point earlier, though, you do, change is prompted and inspired sometimes by, kind of making the other side feel the pain. So if you had 1 year of pretty tough to kind of take all NBA teams, maybe that gets it done. In general, I'm with you. I think that, participation matters a great deal. I've always been that way when it comes to voting for MVP and all these different awards. The other thing that kind of speaks to availability is that we always talk about obviously shortening the season. And the league will, I don't think, ever do it. But we saw during the pandemic when they went to 72 games that there was a value that came with that. So, that's where the players are going to look at them and say, you want us out there a higher percentage of the time, then put us on the floor less often.
So we have the playoffs starting in a week from tomorrow, play-in game Tuesday. Phoenix is the best team I've seen in the league.
Right.
Their chemistry is fantastic. Now, they're not always a great three-point shooting team. Do you think Phoenix is vulnerable at all in the playoffs?
Honestly, I don't. And I wrote about this today. I mean, everybody's got their foibles and their weaknesses, but I do think we are overlooking how dominant they've been. Just to throw a little bit of a historical stat at you, Colin, the teams that have been up at least 7 plus games on the rest of the field, the second best team in the league since the merger, ABA-NBA in 1976. All 7 teams that had at least a 7-game cushion between the second best team have gone on to win the championship.
Wow.
The Suns are right now up 8 on Memphis, and to me that does matter. They're far and away the best team in the league. More importantly for me, and I've been around them a decent amount lately, you hit on their chemistry and the way they bond and kind of the camaraderie. This group is kind of running deep together. They're special on the floor. Chris Paul being back is huge. Devin Booker, obviously great. Ayton kind of out to prove that he's worth that max deal. To me, it's the Suns and everybody else.
Yeah. I still buy Milwaukee. I think they have a great culture. I do think when you win a title, everybody pulls back a little in the regular season. When Brooks Lopez was out, I thought it was clear they missed his size. I think Chris Middleton, I trust more now than I did a year ago. I think Giannis is – I think Milwaukee I don't think the chemistry is nearly as good in Philadelphia or in Brooklyn. Is Milwaukee your standalone Eastern favorite to you?
Boston is up there. The Robert Williams injury is massive, so that takes some of the shine off where you feel like their ceiling is. But the Celtics defense, I'm a sucker for playoff time. Show me the defensive metrics and the numbers. That's going to, get you pretty far in the postseason. But Milwaukee, and having covered them closely all through the finals last year, talked to Giannis a couple weeks ago, like that energy that you're alluding to is 100% intact with Giannis and the whole group. They are, to some degree, coasting through this regular season. The Brook Lopez absence was big. They got depth when it comes to the front line now, which matters a great deal. A lot of these teams, in the last couple of years have been tripped up by not having enough, backup bigs, and they're really good in that department with Bobby Portis. And, Serge Ibaka can't even get on the floor right now. So Milwaukee is good, and they do have that thing that comes with winning a title, right? Like you don't wonder what it feels like and how you get the job done once you've done it.
So what would you do? You can fire Frank Vogel. Joe and I were talking about this the other day. I saw Frank Vogel take Roy Hibbert, George Hill, and Paul George and give the Heatles fits for 4 years. I think he can coach.
Right.
I saw all the old teams in the bubble erode, and the Lakers were the only old team that played great. I don't think Frank Vogel's the issue, but whatever.
Right.
The NBA, unlike the NFL, where you can really go bad to pretty darn good in like an off season, you can go from bad to great, Bengals, in like 2 seasons.
Yep.
It is hard to trade your way out of this mess. Is there light at the end of the tunnel for the Lakers?
No, I really don't think so. You used the word leverage earlier, talking about the LA market, and every point you made was on point. Had me kind of wanting to leave my home in Sacramento and go buy a place in LA and double my own net worth. You know what I mean? But you also, in terms of the NBA and the way it actually operates, you say leverage, you got to have levers when it comes to the salary cap, when it comes to actual, options within the construct of the CBA to improve your roster. And right now for the Lakers, when you sit there and map out a way out of the darkness, those levers do not exist by and large. A lot of the options available to other teams, not just being cap restrained, but the way they are structured makes it really, really hard. I'm wondering now, we don't know what will happen with Russell Westbrook, of course, but talked to a lot of people in the last week about their opinions just from other teams. And there's part of me that says they almost need to ride it out and try to run it back with him next year and then build around him, because the danger for them, I know LeBron's coming up on, the end of this incredible career, but you can't be out there just giving up more first-round picks just to get off Russ's $47 million and not taking, the future into account. So that's where, if you're Rob Pelinka and Kurt Rambis, who are running that front office, this is not an enviable offseason by any means.
Sam Amick, The Athletic, he's got an article on the Suns. We're kind of conjoined on that. Fun to watch. Great seeing you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Colin. Appreciate you.
You bet. Yeah, no, how do you stop an issue? Like the NFL is a great example. They had a catch problem. It was driving all of us crazy. Roger Goodell came on the show, and I'm like, Roger, Mr. Commissioner, I don't know what the hell's a catch in your sport. Like, he acknowledged it. When a commissioner goes, it is a problem, they usually fix it very quickly. And so by the Super Bowl, the NFL, the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl, they tweaked it. They gave like the Eagles a couple catches they wouldn't have been, a month earlier. So when Adam Silver's acknowledging this is a problem, he's hearing it from all the owners who are his bosses. And they're like, now, there are guys like Devin Booker's really close to the line, and I don't think of him as a guy skipping out. But my takeaway is you take away All-Star games, All-NBA, All Awards, MVP, it's gone 85%. I was going to do 90%, but then you're not being fair. Guys do get hurt in sports. Like, it's okay to miss a game or two in the NFL. It's okay if you miss 10, 11 games because literally you ripped an ankle up. I'm going to give you that.
But what is the equivalence mathematically to missing 2 games in the NFL? Because I think that would be the ultimate cutoff for being qualified for MVP. Maybe not for All-Pro or even Pro Bowl, but for MVP, I don't think voters are giving the MVP to a guy that's missed 3 games. So I think that's the threshold. Yeah. So whatever mathematically that would translate to the NBA, I think is fair. But yes, I mean, even if you are injured, even if you're missing games due to injury, you're not playing. So even if the greatness that you have available on the court when you are available, if you're missing that many games, I agree with you. You shouldn't qualify. But I also think you have to overcorrect something that, by the way, didn't just happen overnight. This has been a slow build.
It's been like
because Popovich started this a long time ago. Right. And he got fined for it.
Yeah, no, David Stern and Adam Silver are very different that way. Stern was much more of an iron fist. I know people that were in negotiations with David Stern. He was a yeller and a screamer. Now, but David also, not that he saved the NBA, but it was really teetering on the financial abyss. And so I think he always felt a little bit of ownership on the league, kind of saving it, whether that's vanity, ego, whatever. He was right. Adam takes over a very healthy financial league.
Right.
And I think he's very pro player. I like that. I think he's become the permissive parent a little bit. Listen, I in my life have taken advantage of bosses that I think I can take advantage of.
Well, that's
just
a natural human thing. It doesn't matter how good of a person you are. If you know you can do things that you want to do without having any punishment for them or repercussions, you're going to do that.
My stepdad was a hunter, and we had guns in the house. And all he had to say one time is, you never, ever open that cabinet. And my stepdad was my Little League coach, but he could be mean, and he was big. And he was like, never go. He never had to say anything. It was like, all right, I'm out. Like, Adam Silver needs to come out and say...
See, you were a good kid.
I think I was a good kid, but, I was always fascinated. There were guns in the house, and I'm a little kid, and you're always looking at him, and he was like... his name
Yeah, we had guns in the house,
Irvin.
too, but I just didn't...
You don't mess with a guy named Irvin.
But no, you're right. No, I just think that you have to overcorrect things once they start to get out of control. Maybe that sounds very punitive right now, and maybe it is. But you have to put something in place that is going to correct this course that we're on that does affect fans. Fans have been complaining about it forever.
Well, it's not fair. You put your kids in the car in Milwaukee, you drive an hour and a half to get to a Bucks game, and Giannis and Middleton
aren't there. And they're very
there.
Expensive tickets.
The most expensive pro tickets. I'm not anti-NBA. I'm anti-stars not being available. I would shorten the league. Listen, the first 2 things I would do as any commissioner is get rid of about 4 teams.
But I just don't think that... I think that's a harder thing to do. Asking owners to give up revenue from games.
Okay, that's a great point. I think it is hard. It's embarrassing that it's hard. So these owners...
Well, yes, but we're talking about, just giving up money. People don't like to give up money.
Okay, but I'm an owner, and I'm Adam Silver, and I go, okay, you bought the team for $800 million. It's now worth $4 billion. You're doing good.
Colin, this is America. More. We don't go backwards. We crush and destroy.
But look at the new TV.
It's not going to happen. It doesn't matter. They're not going to give up games. I'm with you. I would like for there to be less games because I would like for it to be more urgent. It would be better for the sport long term. But, it's very easy for us to sit here on this set and do this. They're not going to give up games. I do think that your solution is actually very viable. That is something that could actually happen. Giving up money? No. Billionaires don't usually sign up for that.
I'm throwing money in the streets every day.
They don't even pay taxes. They're going to give up revenue from games? No way.